Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to ATW Creative Media headquarters, right here in Sarah's office. I'm John, and I'm here to talk about the Because Maybe Network and where we have been. I want to thank everybody over the last couple of days who sent me birthday wishes. I really, really do appreciate it. 41 doesn't look as good on me as it usually does. And this is the first video like this I've ever done, so I apologize. I don't have access to all of my graphic design programs, my video editing programs, and my sound editing programs. So if the sound quality's off, and you can tell by the high-tech graphics that I've got here and here, it's it's just high-tech stuff, let me tell you. But I don't have access to any of that, so this is going to be like a very, very rough video, production-wise, low quality, low budget, which is fine, but it's the information in the video that I wanted to give to everybody, okay? This video is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook page. Not to Instagram, and I'll explain social media here in a minute. But, yeah, I just wanted to get something out there for you guys because it has been a while. It's been a long, long time, and I want to just kind of explain a few things, explain where we are, explain where we're going, so on and so forth. And I wanted to just talk. I love getting in front of a microphone and talking. I love doing the podcast. I love doing the video game stuff. So this kind of is kind of helping heal my soul a little bit, okay? So yeah, so John, where have you been? What's been going on? Well, for those who don't know, back in October, I was having computer problems, and my graphics card on my computer was starting to act out. So I did some research, and I just assumed, that's the key word there, I assumed, that it just needed a good spray in, reapply thermal paste, bada bing, bada boom, everything's good to go again. And I've done that once in the past, about 4 years ago, and everything worked wonders. Well, I did it again this October, and the graphics card never booted back up. The graphics card is done, okay? With the age of my computer, getting a new graphics card for it would be the equivalent of hanging a chandelier in a haunted house. My computer's so old I can't even run Windows 11 on it, okay? That's how bad it is. The most recent Adobe update that I had before I tried everything, I couldn't use the newest Adobe suites, so it was done. It was time for a new computer, but I'd carry on with Batman until Batman died, and unfortunately Batman is now in the great recycling plant in the sky, okay? Now, I'm using Sarah's computer and in Sarah's office to do this. Why don't I just do the podcast and gaming with Sarah's stuff, Sarah has offered to do that. The problem is I've got to do research. I've got to do, for the podcast, let me use the podcast as an example. I've got to do research. I've got to do planning. I've got to schedule times between myself and other people, mainly Greg and Sarah. And that means if I use Sarah, for example, I've got to have a 2 microphone setup, and I've got that set in my room. If I talk with Greg, I talk to him over Google, and I'm on one place, he's on another place, and I record it, so on and so forth. I just can't do that with Sarah's computer because I can't kick her off what she's doing for work and what she's doing for business. She's a writer, she's a PA, and she spends a lot of time out here on her computer. I can't kick her off to do a podcast. I can't kick her off doing her job for me to do my hobby. You know what I mean? There are times where she has, she's not using a computer, like today. Today's her day off, so I asked if I could do this. She said fine. But I can't use Sarah's computer to do the podcast. I can't use Sarah's computer to do the gaming stuff because she has a Mac. Sarah's job requires using a Mac to do all that stuff. I can't run my emulators with the games that I own on a Mac. I can't plug in my Switch on the app. I can't on the Mac. I can't use a PlayStation emulator or my PlayStation CDs on this Mac. So it's moot. I have no way of producing new content for you guys, and I apologize for that, and I'm sorry, and I'd love to be able to, but unfortunately it is what it is, okay? I mean, right now I'm using Sarah's computer, Sarah's microphone, and there's a fan blowing in the distance, and because I don't have access to my software, my settings, and so on and so forth, my plugins, I don't know how this is going to sound until I'm done with the recording, okay? So I'm looking for a brand new computer, and I'm looking for one that's a little more powerful than what I've got, and is able to do the things that I want to do on it. But that's going to cost me between $2,000 and $3,000, and right now, I just don't have that. I really don't. I mean, if I was to get a laptop, just for work and stuff, that's still going to run me $1,500. I don't have $1,500. It's going to be a while before I get a new computer. I could hook up my old Mac, but it's a 2009 iMac. Again, it's a Mac. I'm not going to be able to play my games on there. I might be able to knock out the podcast. That's depending on if Adobe software is good to go, So I can't use Sarah's machine. I can't use my old computers that I've got, and I can't afford a new rig right now. And the rig I need, to be honest, has got to have some things that are a little outdated. I've got to have a CD drive. Not because of my nostalgia and all my music is on CD. It's because I need to be able to play PlayStation games that were disc format. I'd have to emulate them otherwise, and PlayStation emulation is not that good. Or at least, not happen for me. Now, I'd probably get the kid to look into it because he's good. He's he's good at doing that kind of thing. But that's a different story for a different day. Now, you're probably watching this on either Facebook or YouTube, okay? And you notice there's an elephant in the room in terms of my social media presence in the corner of the screen. We are still, at this moment, going to be posting on Facebook and Instagram. We are no longer going to be promoting the Because Maybe Network on Twitter. And I don't want to go, I don't want to go too much into the reasons why, because, if I do, I'm going to get a lot of troll people I know, you know what I mean? But I don't support people who make gestures and comments and support white supremacists and Nazis. I don't do it. Your actions speak louder than words. Of what I've seen the last 10 days, 12 days, has been horrifying. But I'm not giving my money and my presence to somebody who associates with that. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. So no longer will our Twitter page be active. I'm not going to completely shut it down and leave it up there as an archive type deal, but it's done. I'm not posting on Twitter. I'm not posting on X, whatever you want to call it. I'm still going to post on Facebook and Instagram for the moment. And I just want to see how that goes, because I'll be completely honest, some of the stuff that was pulled on Inauguration Day in the United States, that Meta pulled, wasn't cool. Now, they said it was an error, but it's a very, very coincidental error, that they pulled. For those who don't know, they were censoring certain topics. Now, Meta is a privately owned company, so it can do whatever the heck it wants to. But to drive traffic to certain areas and completely block traffic to other areas was not good, especially on the day that it was. So I'm not using Meta as much. I've got to use WhatsApp and Messenger to keep in touch with folks back home. But as far as Facebook and Instagram, personally, I'm not going to use as much. But for now, as long as Zuck behaves himself, in my eyes, we're going to keep posting on that. It's not an easy decision to make either. You gotta bundle whatever. But I've always said this is a safe space for anybody who wants it to be a safe space. But there are two things I can't do in life. Well, 4 things I can't do in life. There's Nazis, white supremacists, anti-vaxxers, and flat earthers. The science is there to promote 2, and to have such disregard to your fellow man on the other 2 is wrong. Okay? So you're more than welcome if you do not fall into those pools. And even if you do fall into those pools and like what we do, that's fine. But you show out and you're gone. I don't want to associate with those kind of people. Okay? And that's my right. And it's your right to not associate with people like me. And I'm cool with that. I don't care anymore. I'm 41 now. I turned 41 a couple of days ago. I really don't, I want people to have a safe space and to enjoy nostalgia. And unfortunately, I don't want that space penetrated, permeated, whatever the word is, by white supremacists, Nazis, flat earthers, and anti-vaxxers. And if you're all full, dang. But what I'll probably do while we're down is I'll spend I'll ask Sarah if on her day off I can schedule a bunch of posts to go on social media, and just to kind of keep the pages active, memes, jokes, just something, you know what I mean? And that's gonna be, a work in progress. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm going to unlock the potential of my phone, I guess, to do all this stuff, but I don't know how that's gonna look. Okay. So, that's what's happened, okay? I'm going to tell you what the future looks like for what we're doing. I've had a long, long thought about what I do here. And I like creating content. I know my content's not the biggest in the world, okay? I know only a handful of people are going to see this, the hardcore fans, and I appreciate that. I just know that I enjoy doing what I'm doing. It's a great hobby, it keeps my mind stimulated, and it kind of, makes me feel a sense of accomplishment in the creative sphere. Sphere, excuse me, not spear, not sharp stabby, sphere. Okay, sorry about that. So what are we going to do when I do get the ability to start producing new content? We're going to do season 12 of the 90s podcast. We're going to, because season 11 ended very, very abruptly. I've got material left over, and I've got research that I've got to do, but season 12 of the 90s podcast will happen, okay? Season 12 of the 90s Gamer will happen. I was in the process of doing a couple of mini-series, and before the computer started acting up, one of the things I want to do is I want to complete Oddworld New and Tasty, and it's going to be a 4-part or 5-part 90s Gamer series, right? But also, we're going to be returning with the Dead Streamer, which is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be doing a couple of non-90s related series. Now, the original concept of the Because Maybe Network, Because Maybe, whatever, was to do 90s nostalgia. And I get that, and it's great. I love doing it. But the more and more I do this, the more and more I want to branch out and do other things. So we're going to do some non-90s stuff, which a Dead Streamer has dipped its toes into and has been very, very successful for us. So, but we're going to do, more right here, right now. And we're going to launch 4 new series that we're going to do, okay? And they're going to be staggered, so they're not going to be, it's not going to be all at once or whatever. We're going to do different series at different times, seasonal, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever, right? 90s podcast is going to be a weekly thing, 90s Gamers twice a week like I usually do. But right here, right now, we're going to find more topics to talk about. But we're going to be basically doing several non-90s series, okay? The first one, and these are all working titles and working concepts, but the first 2 are obvious. It's the Because Maybe podcast and the Because Maybe Gamer. These are basically me playing non-90s games or talking about non-90s topics. It's going to be in the same style as the 90s podcast and the 90s Gamer, but for example, I'm not going to be ruling out anything. So only 90s will be talked about on the 90s show, and non-90s talked about on the non-90s show. So, for example, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Oasis, and we spoke about the 4 albums that they released in the 90s. Oasis released 8 albums, technically. I count the Master Plan as an album. They released 8 albums, technically. So we can talk about the other 4 albums that they released, We could talk about movies that were released in the 2000s that were really, really good. I've really, really, really wanted to do, for example, a podcast on the Lord of the Rings series, because I'm a big fan of that. I want to do more episodes. I did an episode with Luke Eldon a few years ago talking about Star Wars Episode 1. I'd love to talk about the Attack of the Clones. I'd love to talk about Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is probably my favorite Star Wars movie, to be honest. I'd love to talk about that. I'd love to talk about some of the albums that have come out. I'd love to talk about some of the current affairs that have happened in the 2000s. I'd like to talk about movies that happened in the 80s. I would love to talk about Transformers the movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. You know what I mean? I'd love to talk about Red Dwarf, one of my favorite TV series of all time. It did a lot of... It stretched a lot of time, but the first 3 or 4 seasons were in the 80s, and I haven't been able to talk about it. So, the 90s Gamer, the 90s podcast, the Because Maybe podcast, and the Because Maybe Gamer. Those are going to be things that are coming down over the next period when I have a computer. There's also John and Sarah Read, where me and Sarah once a month pull up wacky, interesting, outlandish, whatever, articles, stories that we found online that we just talk about it and then commentary on it. A lot of people do that, but I wanted to do that for a long, long time. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Sarah is very, very good at that kind of stuff, and I'd love to do series with her about that. And then there's something called another ES5 Gamer. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm a big fan of the video game Skyrim. I've been planning to do this since 2019. Problem is the computer wouldn't work for it. I'm hoping to get a good enough computer to be able to stream. I've been having a lot of fun with the game lately. I've had some challenges come up, and the one I'm doing right now will be a great way to introduce the series. I'm not going to, I'm not going to go much further than that. But, I'm going to update the blogs more frequently. So instead of like once a month or whatever, I'm going to try and do once a week. Just, something funky that happened in the 90s. Whatever. You know what I mean? Just something. Just to get my thoughts out there. Because like I said, when I started this was more a project that I wanted to do, and as it's expanded to do video gaming, blogs, so on and so forth, it's become a release for me. I've enjoyed working on it, and I've enjoyed, I've enjoyed it. This has basically been one of the most satisfying creative endeavors I've ever done. Even more so than my songwriting back in the day, because yes, I used to write songs. I used to play guitar, write songs. I sound like a parrot being put through a wood chipper when it comes to singing, but I used to write, and I enjoyed that. But I'm enjoying doing this kind of stuff more. Okay, so yeah, so that's pretty much it. So let's summarize real quick, okay? So that too long didn't read version, if you like that. I haven't replaced my computer. It's still down. I'm using my wife's computer to record this. I'm not allowed, but I'm not able to use her equipment because of limitations and her career. A new rig's going to cost me a lot of money. We are no longer posting social media content on our Twitter account. Facebook and Instagram are on thin ice because of some of the stuff they pulled. When we come back, we're doing the 90s podcast, the 90s Gamer, and a Dead Streamer, as we would usually do it, but we're adding about 4 or 5 new shows that are going to be, that are going to be done monthly, or, switching seasons. And that's going to be the Because Maybe podcast and the Because Maybe Gamer, which look at non-90s games and non-90s topics. John and Sarah Reads, which is a working title. It's probably not going to be called that by the time we get it done, but that's where we find interesting articles and talk about them, discuss and do commentary and so on and so forth. And another ES5 gamer, where I play Skyrim, because I love Skyrim. So, yeah, and that's really it. I mean, I miss you guys. I really do. I miss working on stuff like this. I just miss this. I miss doing this, and I'm hoping that in the next 6 months I can get back on the saddle, and I'm hoping that you guys will still be here with me. Okay, so I've rattled on for about 20 minutes now. I don't know exactly how long it is. If you like what you hear, go check out our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. If you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Facebook, go check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out our Facebook channel. Yeah, that's it. So on a personal note, like I mentioned, I turned 41 a couple of days ago, and I feel old. I look more and more like a mad scientist that just escaped from a prison. So, go check out becausemaybepodcast.com. That's where you find our archives. Check out our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. That's where you find every episode that we've ever done and all that stuff, okay? And I will see you guys at another point. And maybe I might come in and just record, a message every now and then just saying hi and whatever. But I do miss doing the work that this entails. So, I've got to figure it out somehow. I want to figure it out, I'll let you know. And when you know, I know, okay? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the back end of this stuff, get it uploaded, and all that stuff. And I will talk to you guys in a little while. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good day. Enjoy your February. Royal Rumble's tonight, if you're a wrestling fan. I'm a big Royal Rumble guy. So, I'm just looking for an excuse to drag this out. I gotta go. Take it easy, everybody. Bye. I said bye.